Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back to the new Build Your Stash and Craft week 27. Today we are going to make a glue sponge, and these are great for sometimes when you're trying to glue something that especially is very fine. It's hard to use a glue stick. Sometimes you mess it up, and it also for things that are very thin or tiny, it works really well for that. So we just need a Loctite container for that, and our sponges and our PVA glue, just plain old white glue like Elmer's glue, the glue from the Dollar Tree, any plain white PVA glue. And I'm not sure if this top just doesn't come off or my hands aren't working well enough, so I'll just have to squeeze it in here like this. I don't have any pliers close. Oh yeah, I do, maybe. Let's see if I can get that top off with the pliers and make it go quicker. I think that's not going to work. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put about equal parts of glue and water. Now, this is not water glue like when we make water glue to replace, to use instead of Mod Podge. This is, we want this to still be fairly thick, but because we're using the sponge, we don't want it as thick as the regular glue is. So about 1 to 1. For water glue, I do it 2 waters, or let's see, how do we do that? 2 waters to 1 glue. But this one's going to be 1 to 1, just half and half. And if I would have known I couldn't get the top off, I would have, got some of this out ahead of time. But I didn't, so it's just going to take a second. And if you didn't see the video that said what we needed for this week, and you notice that my hands are yucky, that's because our hot water heater went out and I had to clean the soot out of it. And it turned my hands just black. So please don't worry about the fact that my nails are dirty, because I cannot get them clean. Actually, when I first did it, it looked like I had like a black French manicure. Underneath my nails was so black, solid, which can be funny now. It wasn't funny then. My husband came home from work and I told him, I said, "You're going to have to give me a bath in the yard," because I couldn't scrub and hold the hose and everything all at the same time. And of course, the day before he had used the hose, I was really hoping he had not emptied it, drained it, but he did. So there was no hot water in it. I thought, well, at least the hose might have hot water in it, but it didn't. And my hair's all gray. And so I looked in the mirror and my hair was black. It was just black, but it didn't, look like the soot out of our fireplace or anything. That soot is so fine. But my hair was just solid black. Didn't look too bad. Couldn't see a bit of gray. We're going to call that good. Ugh, that hurt my hands. Okay, so we've got probably maybe about 1/4 inch of glue in there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of flatten it out so I can really kind of see what I've got. Okay, I'm just going to slowly pour some water in here. And I'm going to say that's probably good right there. And then just stir it up with whatever you have handy. Take one of these skewers and mix it up. You don't want it to be too thin, but you want it to be able to kind of like really get into the sponge, get all the way through. Sometimes also I'll get my sponge wet and then squeeze it out completely before I put it in here, because that just helps it absorb better. I didn't think of that, and actually I probably have way too much glue in here, but we'll just have to see how it works out. This is about my container's probably about half full. And the glue is still nice and it's thick, but it's getting very creamy. Maybe kind of like gravy, not as thin as milk. But get it mixed up really well. And then if you have a good Loctite container, I make these, and I've had them last for a really long time. If they seem to be getting super sticky, you know, like it feels like the glue is getting a little thick, then you'll just spray your sponge with a little bit of water and kind of work it in to keep it moist before it dries out completely or gets just way too sticky. I'll just stick that in there for now. And then we're just going to take a sponge and cut it to fit into our container. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of take this lid and cut around. I don't really want that to get in there. I'm just going to kind of cut around. Maybe just a little smaller than the lid, because we know the lid is a little bigger than the inside of our bowl. I do like it to kind of fill the whole bowl. It does not have to, but for me, I like that better. And now this bowl has a nice lip on it, because sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing a big project, and my sponge is a little far down in my bowl, I will flip it over so my sponge is in here. Oops. See, I said I didn't want to do that, didn't I? All right, so let's see. That looks pretty good. Just trim it down maybe a little bit all the way around. And these work really well for those fiddly things. Or like sometimes you want to use a glue stick, but you know, like right now, we haven't bought any glue sticks for the series, I don't think. And so if you don't have it, you don't have it. And also, if you're doing something really thin, like just 1/4 of an inch wide, which I'll show you in just a minute, that's going to fit in there nicely. Now I'm going to use both of the sponges because I want it to be about as deep as my bowl. I want it to come kind of to the top. It's easier to use that way. But like I said, if I only had one sponge, then I would just tip it upside down in here, and then that sponge would be sticking out. And I'll kind of show you what I mean with that in just a second too. But yeah, if you're using a glue stick and you're doing a piece of paper that's only like 1/4 of an inch wide, well, your glue stick is going all the way over whatever you're trying to put glue on, which you can do that. You know, people do it, you know, they'll do it on scrap paper so that they're not getting it all over their desk area. But, you know, when you think about it, you're wasting that glue that you're just putting on that scrap paper. Alrighty, so we will call that looks pretty good. And now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to work that glue into our sponges. So I'm just going to put it that way. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to just work it in there. It's kids glue, it's PVA glue. To me, it doesn't bother me to get my hands in this. But if you don't want to get your hands in it, we did buy gloves earlier for our series. So you can just go ahead and put your gloves on and make sure that you don't get the glue all over your hands. There we go with that one. Flip this one over. And it will soak in better when you let it sit for a while. Normally, I don't make it and use it right away. I usually make it and then I let it sit. And the glue kind of soaks into the sponge a little bit better. But just to show you how these are useful, we're going to use it right away. But I just really want to make sure that I get that glue soaked into my sponges. And if it separates, I haven't really had that as a problem. It pretty much just stays sucked up into the sponges. But if you find that all your glue is on the bottom or something when you go to use it next time, let's say it was like that, just pick it up and flip it over and work it in just a little bit. So, like I said, I really haven't had that problem, but I'm, you know, thinking that that could possibly happen. So I'm going to just grab some water quickly. I just want to get this off my hands. Whoops, it's locked. And then we'll go ahead and we will see how useful this is, because they are very useful. And this suggestion came from Lena Gray, and I think that's how you say your name, I'm sorry, or LaJean Gray. And she asked if I had ever made a glue sponge before, and I have, and I do use them, and they are very, very useful. So, again, if there is something that you watch other people use, especially if it's store-bought and it's kind of expensive for you, this is really quite a nice bottle, actually, from the Dollar Tree. It's got the little, it's got a little stick in it that goes into the hole to keep it from getting plugged up. That's really quite nice. This would be a nice bottle to keep, and then when you get the bigger bottles of glue, you can put them in here when this is empty. Well, that depends on if you can get the top off or not, and I'm not really sure if that was just me, because my hands right now are not doing real well strength-wise, so I think it could have just been me that I couldn't get it off. I'll have to check that out, but that would be a nice bottle to use over and over. And that's another thing. When you get a good bottle of something and then you really like the way that it works, keep it to use it for other things when it's empty. Alrighty, so there we go. We've got our glue sponge there. And you could use these for other things too. You know, actually, you could glue this to a piece of cardboard, and then that would make a really nice texture stamp. Yeah, that really would. So, and you could do them in shapes and that type of thing too, and then they would have the texture and the shape. And that would be a really fun thing to have for backgrounds. So, now that we have it done, now what I was saying about sometimes if you have something that's really big that you want to put glue on, like this envelope, well, sometimes you're going to go to push it on there, and because the sponge doesn't come quite to the very top of the bowl, you got to kind of push it into there. So if that happens, you can always just take it and tip it over. And then, because your glue should not be like really pulled in your container. So if you tip it over, now your glue is right there on the sponge, and you can take that whole great big thing and just get it all over there without having to worry about the edges of your bowl. That's what I was talking about. Sometimes I tip it over when I use it, if it's a little too low. But, so, what do you use them for? You use them for things that are really, really intricate. So if you have, you know, like let's say you want to cut a stencil, like let's say a really fine flower. So you fold it up and you make this really fine flower, and then sometimes it's really difficult to get the glue on there. You know, you can use your regular white glue, which is actually what we're doing right here, but there are times when it's like, you know, you're trying to rub it on there and you're kind of like messing up the petals because they're so dainty. Oh, well, it can stay there. And even sometimes a glue stick. When you're doing something that's got really fine, delicate parts to it, your glue stick may want to rip it. And so, you know, you've got this and you have all of these little points. You don't want to ruin them. You don't want them to come off. So I thought we'd just make a quick little card here. I just have a piece of our, this is our Kool-Aid dyed paper. And so I'm going to start with, see, a little strip. Now I could put this little strip down and I could use a glue stick to put on there. But the glue stick's going to go off both sides and then we're going to waste that glue. So all you have to do, I think I want to start right about here, is just take that, pull it through, and then put it on your card. And it's so quick and easy, and that is a really good stick because that's a decent glue. And so I'm going to start this one back even just a little bit because I want the blue mostly. I'm going to just go like that. Whoops. See how good of a stick that is? I stuck it right to my drop paper. Put that one right there. And then just trim them off. And I can tell you right now that I did not get that glue all the way out here where I wanted it to go. So I'm just going to take that little bit and just put it right back on there. And there. And the nice thing about it is too, is that that glue is just on the bottom of whatever you're putting on. So you're not making a huge mess with the glue squishing out all over your paper because you're getting a nice flat layer of glue instead of like if I were to squeeze that glue onto this little star flower, then when I put it on my card, that glue would squish out all over and I would have to wipe it off, which you can do that too. But this is just a nice way. You know, I didn't have to sit here and put glue on each one of these things. I didn't get, and I'm kind of hurrying, and so I didn't get the glue everywhere that I wanted it. But so I can just take this part that I didn't get glue on, stick it right back on there. And you'll want to just take your time and make sure you get your glue all over the whole thing. So now we have this kind of cute little card, and I have here just a little stencil. And, you know, you try and use a glue stick on this, you know, you're wind up messing up all your little points and everything. And I thought that that would look cute on there too. It's a little bit big to be on there, but maybe we'll just make it a little bit smaller. And originally when I made this, I was going to use the red side. Trying to figure out how to fold it back up again. But the red side, because it has so much white on it, you can't see the design as well as you can from the other side. And so I just figured that I would rather just use the white side. And that's always the thing about it. You know, you make something, it doesn't turn out the way you think it's going to turn out, change it. You don't have to leave it that way. So just like this, I think it's just a little too big. So I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. Ooh, all of a sudden it's really starting to pour here. There we go. There. Well, now that I've made it a little smaller and I've got that purple behind it, I kind of like the red on there. Let's see. No, I think I still like the white better. So you've got all of this little fiddly bits here, and you want to put it on there. All you have to do is just push it down on your sponge. And you will get a little bit of glue on top by doing that if you put it on there and just give it a good press, which actually sometimes you can use your lid. Now this lid has a dent on it. Sometimes you can use your lid to push it down. You can use something solid to push it down so that it doesn't come through the holes. I'm just going to put that right on there. You can also use it for, sometimes what I'll do is, and I don't have any out here, but there we go. Now we have this cute little card. It was easy to stick all of these little fine things down. We didn't waste any glue stick on our little strips. And again, like I said, you know, make sure that you get glue on it where you need to get glue on it. Don't be in such a hurry like I was today. But I think that that looks really cute, and I think that that was very easy to glue down versus trying to put glue on each one of those little points, making sure I didn't rip them off, you know, trying to get glue on here. And if I had put the regular white glue on there, I still would have got glue coming through all of those little holes. So you wind up with less using your glue sponge than if you're just using regular glue and trying to get it on there. So that is a really easy, simple thing to use. Oh, I was saying one of the other things that I do sometimes is I will use my fun foam and cut like a round stamp. And I will stick it on the glue, and then I will stick it on a piece of paper, you know, so that I have a round stamp of glue right there. And then put a little bit of glitter on it. I wish I had some glitter out here so I could show you how that works, because it really is a fun thing to do. You could put glitter on it. You can put you know, like sprinkle some eyeshadow on it. The little mica powder shadows. You know, you can do, let me see. Just to kind of show you like what I'm talking about. I don't have anything to put on it though, but just, let me see, do I have something here to put it on? So just take your stamp, and of course, really your stamp should not be like this. Your stamp should be cut close to your fun foam, so that you don't get ink, or in this case glue, where you don't want it. And the thing about this is that because that glue has because the glue our sponge has got all these little holes in it, especially if you only press it down like in one spot one time, where those holes are, there won't be glue. Now, if you want glue all over it, you just put it you know, pick it up a couple of times to move it around. But if you just take it and put it like right on top of that hole, wherever that hole is, there won't be glue because there's a hole there. And so then you get a really cool textured background. But then you put it on here, and I can't believe I have nothing here to shake on this. Put on there like that. I'll be right back. It'll only take me a second. Okay, I know that we don't have glitter. I don't believe we've bought glitter for the series yet, but you can use anything that you have. I just want to show you how it works instead of just telling you how it works. Because if you have some glitter at home, kind of left it there a little too long. Give it a shake around. Try and knock it off so you can kind of see the little holes. So see, isn't that cool? And see the little bit of holes where the glue was not on the sponge. And like I said, you can move it around more to get more glue on there. But I like it like this, especially when I'm doing like circles. You do circles and they have this little mottled look in the middle, and I love the way that that looks. So, and then when you're done, just make sure that you do take your stamp and wipe it off with a wet paper towel to get that glue off of it. Paper towel or your wet, you know, a wet sponge or something, so that you don't get that glue stuck to the top of your little stamp. So, because the glue dries shiny, and so then if you try and put ink or something on it where that glue is dried on there, the ink does not stick as well. So just make sure that when you do glue that you wipe your stamp off. I a lot of times don't wipe my stamp off when I do other things. You know, like if I color it with a marker or something, I just stamp it off till it's gone. Then just make sure that you shut it. And if you've got something that you can kind of let the air out a little bit, do that. But I find that they work really, really well. And a lot of times I will store them upside down. If I've got a nice lip on my container, and it should be very tight anyways. Sometimes I will store them upside down so that the glue stays towards the sponge that I'm going to be using. Like I said, if your sponge seems like it doesn't have any glue on it, you forgot to store it upside down, just flip the whole thing over, and then this would be the sponge that you're using for your glue. So I hope that you enjoyed this project. I think that it is a great addition to have in your stash, and you'll be surprised how often you want to glue something tiny that you think, oh, this would be so much easier than trying to put glue on it or trying to use a glue stick. If it's super tiny and you're trying to hold on to it and get glue on it with a glue stick, or you can just set it in there, give it a press, and pick it off and put it on whatever you're going to put it on. It's just so much easier. So thank you very much for the suggestion. I really, really do appreciate it. And if any of you out there think there's something that you want to try, but you don't want to go buy it at the store, let me know. If it's something that we can do ourselves, we will do it ourselves. So it makes it much more satisfying to play with anyways. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And oh, wait a minute. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you what we need for next week. Next week, we need, so I have this cat toy. Now, we don't want just any cat toy. This came from the Dollar Tree, but this is a long piece of fabric, and that's what we want. Now, if you know, we do have fabric in our stash, so you don't have to buy it, but I figured that this would be something that would be cute and fun, and I don't have to cut my rectangle and sew it together, that type of thing, to make this long tube. So we're going to need this, and we are going to need a bag of rice or a bag of beans, and so that's what we're going to need for next week, along with some of our other stash items. And so next week we spent $2.50 on next week's project, and we'll be doing this in a week. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.